Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Patchats. The music that you are hearing now is a track called Decipher by today's guest, A.D.H.S, who I got to know today as Michael. And I first discovered A.D.H.S's music when I came to Berlin the first time in 2019, and my partner and her group of friends were big fans of his, and he was playing a club night, and we went and saw him, and it was really a great set. I'm a enthusiast of techno and some kind of harder techno, and so he really played that, and it was such a fun evening and night, and So that was the first time I had seen him play, and then we saw him again at a club or open air. I don't know how they classify these things. Called Birgit and Beat, and I probably mispronounced that because I'm one of these hokey folky Americans here in Berlin. And so anyways, we saw him play there on the 1st of May, and it was really an incredible set as well, and totally different. And this is one of my favorite memories from this time of first coming to Berlin, and getting to experience the club scene here, and just the rich culture of electronic music and techno and all of these types of things. So that set was something that was always tied to this really fond memory that I had. Anyways, I had continued to listen to some of the sets that he was putting out and whatnot, and so when I decided to start trying to talk to more DJs and producers and whatnot last winter or spring, when I was here in Berlin and everything was locked down during the pandemic, he was someone I thought about and reached out to, and unfortunately we weren't able to make it work at that time. And then when it was gonna work out, I was leaving for the States, and so finally now we were able to make it work. So Michael came over, and we got to sit down and talk, and it was a really interesting conversation. I was very compelled by his story, and it was really fun to get to think about and hear about this other side of this culture and this experience that I really loved so much, because I love listening to music, I love dancing, I love going to a club night or to a festival, and to get to hear about what the experience is like on the other side, and get to pick his brain about his creative process in performing, in discovering new music, how he started getting into producing music, and what that experience was like for him. It was just really fascinating. And I think something that I'm trying to do with the podcast in general is I love hearing people's stories, and one of the things that I love the most, whether I'm listening to a podcast or watching a documentary, is hearing people's journey about their climb, pursuing their creative passion, their art. I think for me at least, that's really always super interesting to hear about, and really, really compelling. So I loved getting to hear his journey, getting his first residency gig, and then getting to start to play some more clubs and festivals, moving to Berlin and having to kind of start over a little bit, and just that whole journey I think is really interesting. And it's really cool to get to hear someone in a totally different artistic field hear about their approach creatively to how to find that spark of inspiration and all of those types of things. So this was, for me, one of my favorite podcasts I've done as of late, and I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. Before we get into it, definitely go follow A.D.H.S on Instagram. The link is in the description below. If you want to hear more of this track, Decipher, or some of his other tracks that he has, including one that is going to come out in January that I think he's really excited about, you can find that on his Spotify, link in the description below. You can find a bunch of his sets from festivals and various club nights, including his most recent set at Sisyphos in the Hamahala on a Sunday. I was just listening to it this morning before he came over. It's a really good one. I highly recommend it. That is all on his SoundCloud, which also the link is in the description below. So go listen to his music, go follow and support him. He's a really great guy, a great producer, and a great DJ. And if he's coming to a city near you, definitely go check him out, see him live. Okay, so enough with the promo. Let's get into this conversation with Michael, also known as A.D.H.S. Enjoy. Okay, so to start, can you just kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your music?
Sure. Okay, my name is Michael. My real name is Michael. I'm 29 years old now. I kind of started making music, or actually I started with DJing first. It was 2013, I think.
Okay.
I kind of got into it because I was promoting parties. First was kind of like my side business next to school and then to uni. And I was like, it's pretty dope, this DJ thing. Let's try it out.
Yeah.
And then after the first time playing, I was totally hooked on.
Yeah.
So kind of like the whole time when I was studying was DJing and promoting parties.
Okay.
And then the party promoting went worse and worse because I got pretty narrow. Like once you started to be DJ, you kind of be a fan of certain people and certain music, but the mainstream or the average party people maybe not even into it.
Yeah.
So I kind of at one point was like, I think I should make a decision here to either go the artistic way or be like the business side. So I kind of choose the being an artist side more.
Yeah.
And then I started producing pretty late, like 2.5 years ago. I just started.
Okay.
And since then, I'm like full on producing the whole 24/7 whenever it's possible.
That's awesome. So I want to hear about all of that, but I always think it's interesting to kind of just go back a little bit to the beginning.
Sure.
So when you were a kid, did you were you always interested in music, or are there musical people in your family, or Not really. Like my mom is, I think, pretty unmusical. She doesn't even like the radio on. Yeah.
So, but I think my dad kind of was. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, it's fine like that.
Yeah.
So I was playing the guitar, but I hated it to go to the lessons, and I never practiced. So I was kind of thinking I'm not a musical guy, but since I'm 13, I was going crazy about listening to music the whole fucking day. And then I started to be really interested in hip hop in that time.
Yeah.
Like I even did kind of like a project where I was rapping in front of my school and all this shit.
Okay, yeah.
So from that on, I was more on the consumer side, but also creating a bit.
Yeah.
But non-stop with
But
music.
I feel like that's also always kind of the point of entry a lot of times into a creativity is that you get so obsessed with the consuming part of it, and you start to really you're really discerning and pulling apart what you like in it.
Exactly.
And this, yeah,
kind of see patterns what is
yeah. So and then when did you discover kind of electronic music and this kind of thing?
I think it was 2012, kind of, yeah. It started with the more softer. I mean, at that time in Germany, it got really popular, these edits and shit. Like, I don't know if you heard it, was kind of like famous songs, and they just put basically a kick drum and a hi-hat under it. It was really cheesy music that time, but it worked, you know?
Yeah.
And then I got to the first parties, the first raves, and I was like, okay, holy shit, what is going on here?
Yeah.
That's the real deal, you know?
Yeah.
It's like better than going to commercial parties or hip-hop.
Yeah.
Because the vibe is insane at a rave. I mean, you know it.
Yeah, totally. So, I think I had a similar like first contact point, because I think in the States, it's like maybe a similar thing to you're talking about. It was like these like mashup artists were kind of like blowing up in this time and stuff.
It was the mashup time. Exactly.
Yeah. So, so you like kind of discover. So where did you grow up? Like, did you grow up around Berlin or a different part of Germany?
In the south of Germany.
In the
like
south.
A more smaller town like called Ravensburg.
Okay.
So kind of like 50,000 people, but the good thing is we had a really good techno club there.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of popular actually. It's Duala, and it's there for 36 years now or something. It's nuts. Like even Jeff Mills played there like in the 90s, or Monika Kruse. So like,
wow,
kind of the epicentrum of techno in the south of Germany there.
Yeah.
So yeah, when we were 16, we kind of get over the fence and like
get
in there, raved a bit, and the bouncers get us out and all this shit. Well, it was really good.
Yeah. So in your town there was like a little bit of this kind of like, I don't know, club culture or
yeah, therefore. Back then way more than now.
Mm-hmm.
Because
so you like kind of you happen to be in like a town where there's a little bit of this culture, and then you start to discover these parties. And how long does it take you before you start to like want to like organize or like start your own show or whatever?
Man, when we did the first party, I think it was with 17, so maybe 1 year, not much more.
Okay.
Yeah,
and what was that like? Was that a fun experience? Like, were there? I mean, like, because to me, like, it always seems like, oh, it'd be fun to like throw a party, but then when you start to think about all the details, it sounds overwhelming, and I can't imagine doing it when I was 17.
No, I mean, the good thing is like when you're that young, you're not thinking about stuff like taxes and that shit. You just go for it.
Yeah.
And as long as it goes good, it's like, okay, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So of course it was a lot of work too, but I don't know, I shared it with a friend, and we were like really having a good bond. So it was always a cool back and forth, and like kind of also our hobby. So never felt like really as a work till I don't know, after 2 or 3 years, and we were throwing a lot of parties, like maybe 3 per month. I was then moving to Innsbruck, so we did Ravensburg and Innsbruck, and sometimes another city, and then it really turned into a job. Like, okay, the weekends are done, and during the week I tried to study, and that was the first time I was like, okay, it's starting to get a bit exhausting here.
Yeah. And what did your parents think about you, like when you started, when you're like, I'm throwing like a party, or did they know? Or
yeah, of course they know.
Yeah.
I think in the beginning they were like kind of proud. It's like, okay, he's doing his own stuff now and trying to earn some money here, but they were not really understanding how serious I was with this shit. I think it took my mom some year like to really like, oh, okay, this could be something to make a living and to really go in this direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. But of course, as a parent, is more like, are these kids fooling around or?
Yeah. Well, also, I just imagine it could be hard to like, because, you know, from the outside, if you don't see all the work behind it and stuff, you're like, oh, so your job is just going to be like, you're having a party? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So then I'm always also interested to hear about like that leap or that jump from like, you know, you're going to shows, you really love this music, you're like kind of hosting nights. Like, when did you start to like decide like, oh, I would like to like mess around with mixing or
I think it was when we kind of throw the first more electronic party, before that we did a bit more hip-hopic commercial. And then like at the first electronic party, I was like, maybe I play like the opening slots from 10 till 12. That time I bought the Serato, like this little box, and I was like more on the laptop, tried to sync that shit and like playing there. And then I got my I don't know, who was it? It was actually a guy from Berlin. He was doing some parties down there, like illegal parties. And I don't know, I think he wanted to play in our party, so he asked me like to do a back and forth kind of, and he booked me to his rave there. And I was preparing like crazy for this gig, like there like hours in the bedroom, staring against the wall, try to get a feeling with this shit. It was kind of like the first real gig.
Yeah, what was that like?
On a really small lake.
Yeah. What was that experience like? 'Cause, like, were you like nervous, excited? Like,
yeah, kind of both. Like,
yeah,
I'm still really nervous. Like, yeah, I mean, depends on the gigs. Like normal gigs, kind of, I'm not that nervous anymore. But still, this feeling of like, okay, something good's gonna happen is always inside.
Yeah,
and I think it's gonna stay.
Yeah. And so you're like practicing and in your bedroom and like preparing like different tracks and stuff, and then did it like go as you kind of expected it to, or were there any moments where you're like, oh fuck, like?
No, it was way better. It was a really good gig. I remember really clearly.
Yeah.
I was supposed to play, I think 1.5 hours, and I don't know, the next DJ didn't come or something. I played like kind of almost 4 hours. I even ran out of tracks, like the typical thing in the beginning. You don't have that much music ready. Yeah. I was like, okay, what to do, man? Where's the next DJ now?
Yeah.
But I think the police came or something stopped the party then, I think.
Okay.
So it was my luck.
Yeah. And so afterwards, like, to have that like first show under the belt, what was that kind of feeling?
I mean, I think it was crystal clear that I want to continue with this.
Yeah.
Playing. Yeah.
And
at that time, as I told you, we really started to make more parties. So I had at least my gigs there. And I think where it really took off more and more with the playing was when I moved at that time to Innsbruck for studying. And I went to a club there, kind of like the biggest electronic club there. And I don't know, I just went to the owner and was like, hey, I want to do some parties here. And I was like, okay, let's talk another day. And did he write? No, I think then he write me like 2 days later, hey, do you know a DJ who could play here more often? I was like, I'm a DJ. Yeah. He's like, okay, let's give it a try. And that was kind of like the next really important gig for me, and I was preparing even more. Like, I was preparing the whole set. Yeah. I never do this again, but this was so important to do it because I was really feeling comfortable. I knew like this shit's gonna work together. Yeah. It worked really good. It was insane. It was insanely, man.
So at that point, are you like, it's funny because it's like, I love like the music and I'm such a huge fan of like the culture and everything, but then also like it's like also very foreign to me, like the technology and like the art behind it and everything. So at that point, do you have like a CDJ kind of at your house, or you said you have this Innsbruck, which is like just like a little mixer that you use with your laptop?
Yeah, I had kind of like a Behringer mixer at that time and just this little Serato box, which is kind of like emulating.
Okay.
You could play vinyl, but at that time I couldn't afford the turntable, so it was basically, they were like faster and slower. Yeah. That's how I was beat matching.
Yeah. Okay. And so you have this gig, and did you have like friends there and stuff from school, or do you, because like like I do stand up, and when I first started, like my friends were like, oh, we want to come, and I was like, actually I prefer like I would rather like have it be strangers, because then if it goes badly, like
got your point.
I don't have to like face anybody that I know. But what for you, were there like, did you have friends there and stuff for this gig?
Yeah, man, I'm pretty lucky with that. I all the time got really good support from my guys, kinda. Even in Ravensburg and Innsbruck as well. And even when I started again here in Berlin, because it was kind of like a restart, I always had my friends group with me, like sometimes 20 people, like from the first beat to the last beat there and supporting.
That's awesome.
I kind of really like it.
Yeah.
But I got your point, because like once you fuck it up, at least nobody knows.
Yeah. You're like, I'm never going to see these people again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so you play this first gig in Unzburg. Yeah, sorry. And that classic American living in Berlin who is, can't pronounce things well. But so from then on, was the owner kind of like, oh yeah, like that was like you can play here more often? Did that kind of like get you a spot in the club, or?
Was exactly like that. From that day on, I was resident right away. It was really cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and so if you're a resident, what does that mean? Like, how often do you play? And
I kind of got one booking from him, like kind of on his parties per month. And then I did my parties there, like sometimes 2 per month. So I was playing a lot in this club.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And if you're if you're not hosting the party, if you're just like playing as a resident there, are you playing for free, or do they pay you? Or
no, I got paid, like not that much, but like kind of with the promoting and stuff was enough kind of to finance my study and stuff.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm always like, cause like in comedy, you know, it's like a lot of the stuff, like a lot of times you're just looking for like stage time, you know, so they're kind of like, we'll give you a free drink and you perform, and
but that's kind of the same.
Yeah.
Like I played so many gigs I even paid to get there.
Yeah.
I slept in kind of in the room where I was playing before and this stuff.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it's like that. You're just craving for the stage time and you just want to get the exposure. Kind of.
Yeah, totally. That was also when I asked about like the feeling after the first time you played. I think there's something. It's its own kind of drug, that high after, you know, because you're nervous and then it's done and it's like, I mean, you're floating.
Yeah, it's the most addictive thing on earth, I think.
Yeah,
for sure.
So you kind of start and you're like playing regularly in this club and throwing some different parties and everything. What You mentioned the first show, you were like, oh fuck, I'm already like running out of music and stuff. Like, how quickly did you start to feel like very confident with like having your library of tracks that you want to play, or and also the mixing element? Because like I have a friend who, she just like bought like a little mixer in her bedroom, and she was like saying, I never knew how like hard and complicated it is just to get like from one track that's at a different speed to the other track that's the other speed and have it sound good. And you know, I think sometimes when you're listening, it's just like, oh, this all sounds so nice. You know? Like,
super smooth. Where's the problem?
Yeah.
I think it doesn't took so long because I was really dedicated to this stuff. So basically I didn't do anything else than this, or sometimes going to uni.
Yeah.
So maybe it took me from that on. Maybe after 1 year I was really feeling comfortable there and really also felt good with the effects and tried to really start to kind of create my own style, like while playing. Yeah. And also started to communicate more and more with the people.
Yeah. I didn't think about that, that there's an element to your like playing a set of like how you're connecting with the audience or whatever, that I guess, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so at first it's like, were you kind of like nervous to like look up from concentrating on what you're doing?
Don't fuck this up now. Don't press this button.
But then as you got more comfortable, you were able to kind of like look out and connect with the people who were...
Exactly.
Yeah.
To really see like how long you can, I don't know, extend breaks, or how much effect you can apply to kind of get a bit more energy in the room or less energy in this stuff. Yeah, it's kind of started at that time.
Interesting.
I also got then a bit better mixer to train kind of. So I made sure I think I bought the 800 from Pioneer, was kind of like one below the standard back then, but it kind of had the same haptic. So I was making sure that I can easily mix like blindly, you know what I mean, and feel confident in what I'm doing there. that kind of helped a lot too.
And so at this point, are you still just playing like basically your own parties that you're throwing, or are you starting to do like shows at other clubs or festival stuff or anything like that?
Yeah, it's kind of, when did it start? I mean, in 2014, like some gigs around, and then 2015, first more gigs around, I don't know, Munich, and like it was spreading. I think the first gig in Berlin was also 2015 already.
Okay.
Brunnen 70.
And were you already like? Cause I discovered you as A.D.H.S. and whatnot. But were you already playing under that name at that point, or?
Yeah. I think I changed my name in 2013, like right before it got a bit more serious.
Yeah.
And was good, because otherwise to change the name later can be tricky sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you start to build up some like recognition and stuff, then it's like, I mean, it's not like it's all for nothing, but it's a little bit of lost.
Exactly.
Yeah. And how does that work with like, so do you, like, for example, like in comedy, or, you know, it's like if you're at a show and then like you have a good set, like maybe one of the other comedians is hosting like a bigger show and they'll be like, oh, that was good, like you should come do my show. Is it similar in the music world?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like that's why it's always also good to go to parties and be around, you know what I mean? Like to be in contact with people. And then when you get a chance to play somewhere and you deliver, for sure someone will come and like, hey dude, I'm gonna throw a party, wanna play there.
Yeah. So it's a lot of like
really
kind
natural steps kind of happening.
Yeah, like it's like it's a kind of like a networking thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And are a lot of the people who are throwing parties also DJing, or is there?
Yeah. I think for me, kind of feels like 90% for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Like guys like me who actually just want to play and they're like, okay, I have to throw a party to play.
Yeah,
for sure.
So do you remember, like, so after you kind of got in Innsbruck, do you remember like what was the next like big gig that really felt like, holy shit, I can't believe like I'm playing here?
I think it was kind of the Berlin gig was pretty crazy, because I didn't know the guys. They just were discovering me on SoundCloud.
Ah, cool.
And of course, Berlin was always kind of like the techno capital.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, to get paid to go there and to play there, you know, was really good. I remember this day really.
Where did you play?
It's Brunnen 70. I think it's closed now.
Okay.
It was a pretty cool club. You just went down with the elevator.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was one of those, I think it was in Wedding, man. I can't remember. At that time, you come to Berlin, you're like, holy shit, the city is huge.
Yeah, totally.
Was really good.
Yeah.
And then slowly started to get some like festival bookings, and it was also like, okay, nice, it's getting serious here, man.
Yeah. So when someone like at least at that point, like when someone would book you, were they basically just like, could they like hit you up on SoundCloud, or like just like how did they go about? Yeah,
I think kind of SoundCloud and Facebook was in the beginning.
Okay.
I think it's a good question. I think I had my first booker 2017, but till then it was really like, drop me somewhere a message and then we get in contact.
Yeah. And do you have any like memories from? Well, I guess let's start here. You said then you started getting booked on some festivals. Do you remember your first festival?
Oof. That's a good question, dude. No, I mean, I can't remember my first festival. That's pretty sad. Yeah. Probably I was pretty drunk.
Yeah. But, or do you remember like the first festival gig that was like,
off
like
the hook,
kind of? Yeah, or kind of like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm playing like at this festival, or like, have you ever played at a festival that you went to just as like a norm, like as someone just going to enjoy the festival?
I mean, the biggest moment that was for sure like Sonne, Mond und Sterne, because this was kind of the first electronic music festival I went to, because I think it's for everybody the first, because like they drop such a huge lineup for everybody and then you just go there. And I was playing there 2018, and was exactly the same stage where I was the whole 5 days, basically, like all the time looking up, like, it's amazing. So this was really like the holy shit, I'm standing here now closing this fucking huge stage.
Yeah. Oh, that
was pretty sick.
Yeah. And yeah, that must be like a surreal feeling, because I feel like, you know, like, especially if you're, you know, a DJ, or, you know, you're like so interested in the scene. But I feel like even for people who are just like there, who love the music just to dance and stuff, it's like you always look up there and think like, oh man, like I wonder what it would be like to have, you know, to see that view and that feel that energy. So were you was that like another show where you were like very nervous for, or?
Dude, I was insanely nervous. Yeah. I even get now nervous again just thinking it was crazy. I don't know, these huge stages is a bit unreal.
Yeah.
It's really unreal. Like in front of, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000 people is crazy.
Is it harder to connect with the people in that setting? Yeah,
definitely.
Because it's like a little bit, there's like almost like there's a literal barrier between you.
Exactly, it's at least 10 meters different.
Yeah.
Not difference, what do you say? Distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, was a really good set. I was also kind of really getting into the mood for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Really setting my mind, and I kind of managed to connect with the crowd. But the first half an hour, I was really like, I don't know, searching for the energy of the people, because as you said, this is really far away. I tend to love clubs where the people like this in my face and I can feel their sweat, and, you know, it's more like the whole
it's like you're
room
in
is
this
pumping.
like carnal experience together. And
So I think I definitely prefer gigs in clubs, I think, or at least smaller festivals where I can be more close to the people.
Okay.
But I mean, for the feeling is also sick. Just to be like, okay, I'm the king of the world here. Like, what the fuck?
No, that's interesting. That was something I was thinking about this morning that I wanted to ask you, is if you had a preference about like playing at a festival or playing in a club, or but so like you kind of enjoy that like more intimate club kind of experience.
Definitely. Yeah. Something like, for me, the best gigs I ever had are all the time in Hammerhalle.
Yeah.
Or really like these festivals kind of closing when it's also got this really special vibe. But then I also prefer kind of this, I always call it like kind of Berlinish festivals, you know what I mean? Like the festivals with a lot of love and not just big stages and like, I don't know, drinks from Coca-Cola and this shit, like really this fusion kind of style festivals.
Yeah. Or I don't know if it was this, I really wanted to go, but it ended up not working out. But you were playing at, was it like another, like at Widemürhe, but like it was like in September?
Lusatia?
Yeah. Yeah, like this kind of...
Exactly. Exactly, this kind of festivals.
Yeah. So, what was the other thing I was going to ask you about that? Oh well, it'll come back to me if it's if it should. But that was the other thing. So what about like do you have a time slot that you prefer to play? Because I always think about that, like, you know, if you're playing from like midnight to 4 or something, this maybe is like kind of the peak of amount of people. But then sometimes I feel like some of the most special sets that I've been at were maybe those 4 to 8 or 6 to 10 or something, where it's like it's a little bit thinned out, but the people who are left, it's like
the true ravers.
The true ravers. So do you have any like preference about, you know, if you were like getting booked at a club or a festival or something, and they're like, oh, these are the time slots, you can pick one.
Good question, actually, because I kind of grew up with warm-up slots, and I tend to like them a lot. Because, like, I don't know, you can kind of raise the energy and you can also play a bit around. But, yeah, these slots to kind of close a good party, I mean, it also always depends. Like, if you choose the last slot and the party was shittle, then you die.
Yeah.
You just die. You have, like, some zombies in front of you. Yeah. And you're, like, really tired. But if the vibe before that was good, like, for example, I remember the morning at Prairie Festival this summer was 6 to 8. Yeah, it was 6 to 8. It was kind of thinned out, but was nuts. It was just insane, this gig. The sun was coming up then, like, was insane. It was this vibe we were talking about, like really intense, and everybody who was there was full of energy still and was like, okay, it's Sunday morning, let's just go bananas here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, to play peak time is also really fun, because then you have like all the crowd, and kind of the more people it is, sometimes the more energy is around, obviously.
Yeah. Well, it's I think it kind of it feeds on itself a little bit, right?
Exactly.
You know, it's like if you have people around you who are really excited and dancing, it brings your energy up, as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always a back and forth.
Yeah. So
this was a clear answer now from you. Huh? Yeah, I like everything.
No, but I think that's interesting. It's like, it's interesting to think about like the different mentality of the different time slot. Like, okay, if you're in this peak thing, then it's like to bring the hammer. In the warm up, that there's like, okay, how can I like coax people's energy up?
Exactly.
And there's room to experiment, kind of.
Yeah. To play a bit more sexy, a bit more.
Yeah.
Let's go to the dance floor and kind of start more like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Therefore.
And is that also like So if you, depending on the time slot, do you you go in with a different mindset of how you're going to craft your set or whatever?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
therefore. It's also like important to always keep in mind where you're playing, like what party, festival, what time. Mm-hmm. Also, if you played there already, you kind of know what kind of ravers are there. Then you can also kind of set your mind on this.
Yeah.
It always helps me, because when I don't do it and go to gigs, and sometimes I'm also not getting in the mood. Mm-hmm. So just for my fun purpose, can I say this?
Yeah.
It's also good to already get in the right mindset there.
That's also okay. So that's something else I was interested to ask you about. That like if you're working, if your art is in this, kind of like party atmosphere or whatnot, how do you deal with? I have to imagine. Like I love to go to a party, I love to dance, I love music, but like sometimes I'm not in the mood. But when I'm not in the mood, I can just not go. So how do you ever have that feeling going into gigs, and how do you deal with that if you do?
That's the point where it's like, okay, it's a job.
Yeah.
It's also just a job I have to do. Like that was like kind of referring to the time question where I want to play. I don't like to be awake that long, so I'm more a guy I like to sleep. So sometimes when I play like 6 a.m, it's like, oh fuck, okay, I need to sleep before that. But then waking up 4 a.m. is, man, you don't want to go to a party at 4 a.m. when you just came out of the warm bed and it's like standing in front of like brushing your teeth. But once you hit the club and kind of the vibe is good, it's blown away. Yeah. But there are also days where you hit the club, it's not too much going on, the people are already sucked out with the energy, and then it's really work. Yeah. Of course, it's still better than, I don't know, working somewhere else, but
but then those are the days that it feels like a job.
Exactly.
That was okay. So that was something else I always wonder is like, if you're playing like a 6 a.m. set, so do you, because I was wondering if you would sleep before, because it's like that's a really long time to stay up for. But on the other hand, I was imagining like if I had a show at 6 a.m. and then I were trying to like get to sleep the night before, that would be a nightmare for me, because like before you're kind of buzzing, you have this adrenaline, and
like, 6 hours left, 4 hours left to sleep, 2 hours left, okay, sleep now.
So do you usually try to sleep, or
I'm always try to, and if it's just 1 hour, I always try to reset the brain is really important, because the body, I think, has a bit more energy, but you have to be creative then at 6 a.m. And if you're all night up talking there a lot and be like all the time around, I mean, I do this sometimes as well if the party is nuts and I want to enjoy the party, for sure. But if I'm like, okay, I just want to be fresh for the gig, I tend to sleep all the time.
Yeah. So what is your like if you're like before you're playing a show, what do you have a routine or something? Like do you like to have some time to yourself to kind of like think about your plan for the night or something? Do you listen to music before? What how do you like get yourself ready if you're going to be playing like a big set or something?
Good question. I mean, like in the gigs in Sisyphos, for example, I like to go with a group of friends and also party a bit before, because I'm a bit more loose then when I drink a bit, and like in this kind of, we listen to techno before that and like kind of getting pumped up. But Sonne, Mond und Sterne, for example, or other big festival gigs, sometimes I like to be a bit more quiet before then and go there maybe 1 hour before to kind of get the vibe of the party and also to see what the DJ is playing before.
Yeah.
Because this also makes a big difference. I try to check if the people enjoying themselves right now, and then what I can do to add to the party.
Yeah.
So yeah, this for sure. And I always, since I started, do 3 big breaths before I start the set. I'm turning around and like getting in a moment.
Yeah.
This really helps me. It's really like a reset before the madness.
It gives you get to like kind of step into like, okay, this is the experience now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now be in this moment.
Yeah. Cool. Do you ever, because you were saying about going a bit earlier to get like a vibe from the party or whatever, is that ever like a stressor of like, oh, I hope that whoever's playing before me doesn't play one of the tracks I was thinking about playing, or do you not have to worry about that too much?
Luckily, I have at least a big arsenal of tracks
ready
now, not like in the beginning. It's not that. I'm more worried about sometimes that maybe the party is not crowded or for whatever reason.
Yeah, makes sense. So where we kind of left off before we started talking about like performances, like you were starting to play bigger shows and like do festivals. You're in Innsbruck, and then when do you move to Berlin? And you also mentioned kind of it was like at that point there was like a restarting. So was there kind of a break that you took there or something? Or
I think I moved to 2016, kind of in the beginning. I moved here and was kind of like a reset. Like first of all, I went after the second gig in Berlin. I went to Sisyphos in Hammerhalle. I was raving hard there. And after that, I was like, okay, I need to play here. No matter what. I was like, okay, I think I have to move here to play there. It's kind of hard from Innsbruck to reach out there to make connections. I was like, okay, I need to go to Berlin. Then I found a place to study here as well, because doing that I was all the time going like in both directions.
Yeah.
And then I moved here and was like, okay, let's go. I'm ready. I know how to play. But yeah, of course, nobody knows me here. It was just those 2 parties, and they were not throwing parties all the time. So I kind of started again like playing really small. I played a lot in Ava and those kind of more... It's still a club, but really for like 40 euros or something. Like starting from being a resident and throwing like the biggest parties in town to, okay, let's come down to earth.
Yeah.
Let's do on a Wednesday for $40 here.
I think that's something interesting generally about like the climb, or like, you know, as you're trying to like get into anything in the arts, you know, because like last weekend I had like a full weekend of shows, and on Friday I played at like a comedy club. There was like 70 people, and then the next night I was in like a student hotel and there were like 8 people there, you know. And it's like, so there's this like kind of ride like that. So is it for you, do you feel like mostly of the time when you're playing at parties, they're like you're good parties, you're not dealing with this like Wednesday night thing anymore?
Luckily, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's good to get grounded
all
the time again. So
totally.
But the gigs are, I mean, I don't know if they're getting better, but of course it's getting a bit better gigs, and like, and I feel that I kind of grow my fan base more and more, so it's get a bit more crowded. Even I played the 3rd time in a month in Berlin, there's still like people I recognize from gigs, and so like the gig's getting better when you have people which are loving your music. It's that easy. So like I'm depending on them to come.
When you came to Berlin, then you're kind of like, you have to kind of start from scratch to some extent. And how did you like kind of find your way into the community here? Or do you remember like what the first like gig that you had here that really felt like, oh, I'm like breaking through with this a little bit?
Like first when I started here, I was like, okay, let's do events again, and I can play, and also like I know what's cool right now music wise, and I booked also again people I like and which I was thinking like blowing off. Most of them blew off, but some years later, so the party were all the time shit. I was losing a lot of money again. And then I decided like, okay, that's not the way I want to kind of create something, but alone maybe is a bit too rough. And then I kind of reached out for a collective called Tanz aus der Reihe. With like some really sweet guys from Köpenick, and they were throwing some cool parties in the former Cosmonaut. And I just wrote them like, hey guys, what's up? I'm here in Berlin now. I'm kind of searching for a crew, like kind of like-minded people. And then we were meeting on one afternoon. They just came. We smoked a lot of joints, and we're like, okay, brothers. From now on, we are brothers. And because of that, I got my first gig in Ritterbutzke, I remember. And it was kind of like a really important point, because the promoter of the party, he was throwing like the biggest parties at that time, like this Wasted Unicorns parties. And from that thing on, he kind of took me as a resident, and I played all the time, at least once per month on his parties. And it's big exposure, because a lot of people go to Ritterbutzke, not so much Berlin people, but still you kind of make a name. Yeah,
you get this exposure.
Exactly.
And again, like what we were saying, like, stage time is like always still so valuable, right?
And you learn a lot in Berlin. You know, like playing here is kind of like the stage you want to be to.
Yeah, it's the final boss level.
Exactly.
Sorry, go ahead.
One other thing was like, the gig in Sisyphos, the first gig, I was just there raving, and I knew the resident there, like Leon Licht, and we were actually partying there, and then like the night manager came to Leon and was like, dude, there's a slot free, and he was like, do you have your sticks? I was like, yes, I do. And then we went to Dampfer, and man, it was so empty. It was maybe 15 people, but we played there like for 3 hours. And then after that, the night manager was like, man, I liked it, blah blah blah, leave your contact, we're gonna contact you.
Oh man, what was the feeling coming home from the club that day? I can't imagine.
Bro, I remember it was insane. I was almost crying, man. It was so beautiful. It was, even after a long party, I was happy as fucking like 2 days raving, but I was like, can't stop smiling.
That you just said something interesting. You like, the guy asked you if you had your sticks, meaning like your flash drive with your music and stuff. And so when you go to a party, do you always just like bring, like, or at that point, would you always bring it just in case, like,
for sure,
you never know
especially at Sis. Man, I'm really thankful to Leon there, because he was like, man, every time you go to Sisyphos, bring your fucking stick with you, you know, you never know. Some DJs are fucked up and they can't play, so there's a slot, so you have to be ready, and I was ready.
Oh man. I wanted to ask about your first Sisyphos experience. I mean, for me, that place is super close to my heart, because it's the first club I ever went to in Europe and in Berlin and whatnot. So this was the first time. And then when was the first time that you got to play in the Hammerhalle? Was
24th of May.
Okay.
On a Wednesday, opening the hall like 0 to 3.
Okay.
Yeah, it was this kind of this holiday, like Christi Himmelfahrt on the next day.
And were you like, so you kind of know ahead of time this time, like, oh, I'm gonna...
Yeah, like kind of two weeks before. I think this first gig, like in Dampfer, was mid of April. Man, I really remember this time was like, okay, holy shit, it's starting now. You know, I was like waiting for this moment to come, and now it's gonna come. And then, I knew it maybe like 2 weeks before or something. Bro, I was never so... That was like the most nervous moment of my life.
Oh, I can't imagine. And so... when you're like nervous, especially playing a time slot like that, like, do you find it's helpful if you have like a couple of drinks beforehand to kind of like chill out a little bit and like get in the party vibe and not be so like, oh fuck?
It's like, no, at that time for sure. I was with all my men, it was so cute, like at least 30 friends joining the party. Like,
oh really?
But before that, like, I think like half an hour before that, I was like, okay guys, I need some time. Leon also came to the gig, and he was like, okay, take your time. I was going to the toilet thinking I'm gonna puke the whole place. I was just like, okay. But then man, it was insane.
Yeah.
First beat, and after 1 minute, like the first row was just my friends. Like, okay, dude, let's go.
Yeah. That's what a cool feeling. And do you remember like because opening the Hemahala is also like a kind of an interesting slot, as like people kind of like come in and get into this like kind of hard rave energy. So do you remember kind of how the energy went that night?
And kind of course, I was thinking about it to like, okay, dude, it's the first of, 6 days in a row. It's not going to be that crowded on a Wednesday. So like kind of make it a bit more. I started really kind of a bit darker and groovy to, 128 kind of BPM, 126 to get a bounce, not like, okay, bam, take it. No, it's really important to have that in mind.
Yeah.
I think it's, a good DJ really needs to know where he's playing and what time he's playing and how to get the people to enjoy themselves.
Yeah. And is that something that you feel like you learned just through kind of like trial and error playing shows, or is that also something that like when you meet other DJs that you guys talk about and like they say like, oh yeah, like I've tried this trick. Have you tried this trick? It like sometimes works in this situation, or
kind of both. Of course, playing. That's why I told you I played a lot of warm-ups in the former resident club, and that warm-up is I think is the best practice, because you start with an empty dance floor and you need to fill it up, and this can be it's quite challenging, but it learns or it teaches you how to read the dance floor and the people. And of course, I kind of did my research, man. This time when I started DJing, I was going crazy on YouTube videos from famous guys. Like I watched a million times Maceo Black's playing somewhere.
Yeah.
To kind of check how he's, interacting and how he's mixing the tracks, and also like at what time of the set he's bringing up a big tune and what time not. And this shit, of course, it's a craft. You have to just go for it. And also talking with colleagues always helps. I always had the luck that I kind of bonded to like really older, really older. Experienced guys. So of course there you can learn fast and a lot.
Yeah. Do you remember like I was just, like I don't know if it would be the same, but like one thing I've been working with recently, like doing stand up, is like this when to try like new jokes, what situations, and then like how often do you just like keep doing your same polished stuff. And so I was like asking some of the older, like more experienced comedians in the scene about that, and it's like something I've been really trying to like crack and figure out. Do you remember if there was anything like specific that you were, when you started out, that you were like, I can't quite figure this out, or is it maybe that example doesn't apply?
Nah, it applies big time. Because it's interesting. In the beginning, I was like, okay, I'm never gonna play the same set again. Like, I was like all the time digging music, like constant. I was like, okay, I play every time a new track, like completely, no other track from the former set. And then I kind of made the experience like, okay, first of all, it's not that much good music out there, which fits my style. And also, I kind of lost the classes of a raver. Because when I'm as a raver, I'm happy if I know a track. I'm like, I get satisfied. It's like, I know this track, it's Insomnia, I know it. So I kind of made my own way there, kind of like to test it some things. And now I'm like, still try to not be boring and play the same shit all over again, but also know that it's important to kind of craft your set a bit and to present it then. Like when I play like tonight in Berlin and I play tomorrow, I don't know, in Nuremberg, I kind of tend to play at least some maybe 6, 7, 8 core tracks at that time, and the rest I sprinkle around kind of. Yeah. I think it's all about balance there.
Yeah. That's interesting. I never thought about it in that way, like that if you're building a set that you could have like these kind of, okay, I have whatever you said, like 6 or 7 like kind of foundational tracks, and then you can build and play around those and Yeah.
This really helps when you say, like, okay, this shit is hot right now. The people will go bananas. It also gives you a lot of security when you like feel like I'm not getting them.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, let's throw in a bomb and then see what's happened.
Yeah. So then what do you do if you're kind of like, I'm having trouble connecting, and then you're like, okay, this one's got to be good. And then if you do it and it doesn't get a reaction, are you just like, well, this is a bad audience? Or
fuck you. Nah, then you have to, this is really important as a DJ to be flexible also. I mean, at least I think there are like also colleagues which are just go for their style, and I also respect that. If you say like, okay, this is my style, I have one repertoire and I play it. But for me, it's really important to say like, okay, maybe they don't like this kind of vibe in the track because maybe the kicks are just too distorted and they're not feeling it in the chest right, because also maybe the sound system, sometimes it's really the venue is not prepared for hard techno. Then you have to be a bit more soft and go, okay, let's get some melodies in here to catch the people more in the heart than in the stomach with the energy.
Yeah. Oh, wow, it's really interesting. So, and how do you like go about like as you built out your kind of like your library and like how do you go about kind of discovering music and music that, as you say, like kind of fits your style or, you know, the musical aesthetic that you're going for?
As I'm doing kind of like the promo work, like I'm listening to all the promos from two really big guys in the scene, I'm getting all of the new music.
Okay.
Which is also annoying as fuck because it's a lot and it's not so good in the last couple of years or the last year. But yeah, I kind of absorb there like the tracks which are fitting to my style right now, because I'm also all the time changing a bit. Sometimes I like it a bit more dark and more rough. Sometimes I'm more into like bigger tracks with melody and this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically just work. You're just listening to tons of music and then you say like, okay, I'm feeling this, let's put it aside and see how it works on the dance floor.
But do you like do you feel like can you just sit at home and like sit there and be like, oh, I'm listening to this track, you're like, it's not for me, I keep going? Or do you have to be like out on a walk or doing something, you know what I mean? Like to be able to really like, because I've noticed for myself, it's like if I have music on in the background here, like I like that. But, you know, like if I go for a run and I'm listening to music, or if I'm like walking to the grocery store or like just walking around the city at night, it's like, it's a different listening experience where it's like, you know, sometimes it almost feels, especially like if you're listening to like a really nice techno track in Berlin, I feel like I'm like walking inside of a music video for the song. You know? Like, you see the fucking like cool street art and the like, oh shit, there's the tower.
That's a good point. Feel you. Yeah, definitely feel you. I tend to listen a lot of music or like the promos on a bicycle actually. But I think because I'm already listening a lot of music, I'm kind of experienced already to know which tracks are good working on the dance floor. So that it's not depending that much anymore where I'm listening to this stuff. But I'm always listening with headphones, so I'm not checking with the UE boom or stuff because you need to know that the low end is working. Yeah, there are like good tracks out there, but you can't feel them. They're not hitting your chest, and then you can't play the shit. It's like that. Yeah. So yeah, make sure that
so the purest way to get like a good read on how good the kind of like details of the production are and how they would sound on a really good system is if you have like a nice pair of headphones. Yeah.
I tend to listen to most of my music on the Bose.
Yeah.
For sure.
Nice. What like besides, you know, like playing Sisyphos for the first time or the Hamahala for the first time, were there any other like really like big shows or performances that you have a memory of being like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm playing this?
Kind of like the whole summer of 2017 then I played kind of a lot of these cool festivals like Fields, Rück zu den Wurzeln, and this Burning Beach was also off the hook. Man, it was insane, this gig. Yeah, there was like a lot of really good gigs happening that summer, and then I was lucky, or I had a friend who like, I think we had a talk in 2016, and he was like, dude, if you want to be successful there, you have to do social media and stuff.
Yeah.
And this also helped me a lot. Then like good gigs came, and I also was doing like videos from that and pictures, and this kind of worked really good together to kind of build up a bit better and a bit of a brand kind of.
Yeah. Totally. So that's right, what I wanted to ask you about. Is like, so what, are you still studying at all, or like at what are you like supporting yourself with music now, or what?
Actually, I'm still studying. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a long journey, I can tell you. Yeah, there's still like one thing to do to kind of finish my master.
Okay.
But yeah, doing this whole pandemic shit, I kind of had to make a holiday semester. I don't know if weird German stuff to get kind of the money from the state. I had to pause this shit.
Yeah.
So I'm still kind of in this study mode a bit, but yeah, like the plan right now is to go full on.
Yeah. And do you think like with because I'm always like also interested trying to survive in any field in the arts, I feel like if you're a painter or a musician or whatever, it's like always a struggle. But do you, like, the way you've set things up for yourself now, do you feel like when you're done studying you can make it work by like playing these gigs and this kind of stuff?
Yeah. I'm confident, but I mean, it's tricky now. It's
always also scary because you're like
fucking scary, of course, but I try to be like, okay, dude, it's gonna work out. I don't know, at one point I was really like, if you just put in these fucking hours, it's gonna work out.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what's keep me running and like working every day.
Yeah.
But for sure there, like, especially now with the pandemic, I was like, okay, this is a pretty unstable business I was choosing here.
Yeah.
I was sucking big time, and there's like all the time applying for the next kind of Hilfe, and then you just get Hartz IV from the state, and you're like just cooking noodles for 1 year.
Yeah.
It's also annoying as fuck, but yeah, it's worth it.
Well, and I have to imagine it's like besides the, economic pressure of like if you're kind of making a lot of your money playing shows and stuff, it's also this huge like social and emotional piece of your life too to have taken away.
Yeah.
So what did you, because I wanted to eventually get around to the point of, you said 2 years ago then you started producing music full time. So that was a little bit before the pandemic then, or
kind of like half a year before the pandemic, or maybe 1 year before the pandemic. I was like, okay, it was that time when I kind of got my bigger agency, and the guy was like, it's nice what you're doing DJ wise, but if you really want to make a living, also like on the long term, you need own productions. There's no way. And I was like, yeah, he's right.
Yeah.
He's there for it, because I always want to do it, but I was always kind of scared like to not fit the level of DJing, you know what I mean? I was like, okay, starting again from zero.
Yeah.
And I'm already kind of like playing good. And I was like, okay, I don't know, I'm kind of was avoiding it, but this was really like, okay, if you want to go this way, you need to go it full.
Yeah.
And then, I started, and I was still studying. Then I had to write my thesis, and I was like all the time like, okay, I just want to hit the fucking studio here. But
yeah,
I kind of closed this chapter with the thesis. I kind of handed it in, and from that on was last year I went like full on. And I don't know, that's why I was in the beginning really happy about the pandemic, was I was like, okay, I have a lot of time now just to work on music. Nothing but fucking time. Yeah. And then kind of, I don't know, they're like all the time ups and downs. There are like some phases where I think like, man, I'm gonna get really good in that. And then there are like phases where like, okay, I suck big time here, man, maybe I should change. But yeah, overall, I'm kind of more and more confident with my decision.
Yeah. What was that like? So I guess a question I had is like, so are there like some DJs who have like made a whole career out of just kind of like playing shows and don't produce music? And so then did you have some other like people you had met in the industry who were saying like, yeah, you should think about like producing your own tracks or this kind of thing, or was it just your booking agent?
Nah, for sure. Also colleagues were like, why don't you produce in this? Yeah, for sure. Like one guy, the first EP I did together with one guy, and he was kind of like really nice. He just came like, man, I like the way you're playing. Do you produce? And I was like, I always wanted to, but he's like, man, come by to the studio. There was also like kind of a really good push, like, okay, it's possible. I didn't know a shit like about the program, but I was like, man, let's try this. So I could give input there, and I was like, I think I just need to learn the craft. I have the ideas.
Well, that's what I was thinking is like the skills necessary to craft a really good set or to have that discerning ear to know which sounds, which drums you like, which things are important in that moment or whatever. I mean, those are the same elements that you need to put together a song. It's just like I could imagine, because like I do video editing too, it's like when you get into one of those programs, it's like I'm about to hopefully, I've been using like an old editing program, and I'm like, I want to switch to Adobe and do this. And it's like, but I'm a little bit scared because it's like, there's so many keyboard shortcuts and so many things. So I can't imagine with like a music, like something like, I don't know, what do you use, Ableton or which?
Yeah, no, Ableton again.
Ableton, yeah. It's like it sounds super overwhelming to start.
It is. It is, man. Yeah, I had a good teacher in the beginning, or I always go for teachers actually. This is like, that's why I kind of feel confident now, because I always have someone I can check, you know what I mean? And in the beginning is so fucking overwhelming, and he kind of broke it down to a bit more key points, which helps a lot, because otherwise, man, the possibilities are infinite to create. And then, as you said, like a lot of shortcuts and stuff is not working how you wanted in the beginning. So it's really doing homework. The
program is crashing and you're losing the thing that was like, that was the best thing I ever made.
I'm never going to produce something like that again. No, man, and for me, the best or the most important thing is YouTube and the internet.
Yeah,
and you can learn everything you want there for free, or I don't know. I paid a lot of classes as well. Yeah, and then I kind of made my way through. I kind of studied again.
Yeah, and now, like, do you like really enjoy that process of like doing the production side of things?
Yeah, I think it's crazy, but I think I even enjoyed. I don't know, the playing itself. I love it. But I mean, the traveling and all this shit kind of sucks from time to time. So I don't know. I love producing. It's really the best thing that ever happened to me, for sure. Yeah.
And something else I would ask you about is like, so you have like studio time, basically sometimes like where you can go and use a recording studio.
No, I have my own studio.
Or you have your own studio.
We built it in May. This year, before.
But do you have access to it all the time, or?
I'm sharing with one guy.
Okay, because I was like a friend of mine also like produces a little bit, and he's like he has like 2 nights a week that he can go, and he was like one of the challenges of that is that like this feeling of like, okay, ready, set, be creative. You know?
Okay, I'm paying for this.
Yeah, so in your studio, do you feel like you have like enough freedom and time to just like find this inspiration, or do you have strategies to try to get into it?
To get in the song, kind of. Yeah, like several questions actually. Like first of all, for sure, it really helps now to have an own studio, because before that I was like in Wedding in a shared studio with 6 other guys. So I had like kind of just the mornings and 3 per week, and I was like, man, at 9 sometimes I'm not creative. It's like, so I really feel your friend there is. You're not that free. Sometimes it's hitting and you just go with the flow, but sometimes you're like, okay, I'm not feeling it right now, but I have to. It's like just 2 hours left here. So this was a really important step to say like, okay, I'm going to build my own studio, and then I kind of get or share it with someone, but it's much more time.
Yeah.
But I also always try to get myself in a production kind of mood by like, before I hit the studio, I do yoga, I meditate, or I meditate in the studio even to be like, okay, Ableton is already open, and like facing the wall, do like 10 minutes of kind of, I do this headspace, and they even have like this creative courses. It's insanely good, man.
Really?
I fucking love it. I just started with it 1 year ago, but it's one of the best things I ever did in my life. So change my routine to really say like, okay, this is actually part of the job.
Yeah, that's such an interesting thing, I think, with like trying to pursue something creative, is that it's like, part of the job is like setting yourself up to be able to be creative, you know, where it's like getting a full night's sleep, or you know, like or you know, taking like the time to meditate and get a headspace where you can get in that zone. Yeah,
like this guy Andy is saying, it's creative, you can't force it. It's like all the time you take a step back, then you get creative.
Yeah,
it's really like that. I was feeling this, I was working this summer a lot, like really constant, basically, maybe taking 3 days off in the whole summer. And then after that, I was really like, fuck, I don't have any creative spark in myself anymore. And then I went to Morocco like in October. Man, I was like writing tracks on the laptop, like every day a new track. Yeah, you know, like just the idea, but you make a step out of your daily routine, and it's hitting. You know, it's just like flushing again the creativity in yourself, in you. Yeah, you know what I mean.
So what was like something that was surprising, either in like a good way or a bad way, when you got into doing production?
I didn't know it's that much to learn. Especially, I mean, the creating itself is all the time fun, but this mixing and shit, to really get an idea to nail it, you know what I mean? And not just say like, it's cool, but something is missing. I didn't know it's that hard. Sometimes it's a lot of work. And you have to be really precise. And I'm more like okay, let's go to the next thing. So this was really like, okay, I didn't know that's that hard. But also
sorry, go ahead.
I really enjoy the process to get a bit more grown up and say like, okay, no, focus, do all the fucking automations, do proper EQing here, even it takes hours.
Yeah, to really take care of the details and like finish the
finish music is also
and like, what do you just kind of, I mean, this is a hard question, because it's like, you know, where do you find inspiration is like, I mean, I think in a way none of us really know, but like I guess what I would like give it as an example to ask this question is like, for myself, like if I am thinking about like a new bit that I'm working on, or if I'm trying to write a sketch, like I'll go running, and a lot of times that time in my head, and I really also like to listen to techno, like something that's in the background, but like my thoughts can kind of run across the top a little bit. So that's like a strategy that I use to kind of like, then when I get home, I can really like sit down and start to write. Do you have strategies besides the Headspace app to like find inspiration? Like, do you hear the music in your head somehow, or is it like messing around on the program and then you find something that sounds good and then it's like building a castle or something, you know, like
unfortunately, I'm not one of those guys which are like, I know a melody and then sit on the piano, because I can't play a piano at all. I'm more like this.
Yeah.
But for me, it's also the same. Like I think I approach music more in a kind of movie kind of direction. So I'm thinking about a track, and this often comes up into my mind when I don't know, under the shower, running.
Yeah.
Doing sports in total helps a lot, because your brain is kind of off the thing, but it's a lot of circulation in your body. I think this kind of kicks some stuff. And also, man, I'm listening to a lot of music, also like different kind of music, in there where I get a lot of inspiration. Like, man, how is this motherfucking doing this? Man, this would be so cool in techno. Like, let's try a way like to figure it out. Or I'm sampling a lot all the time, like kind of just to get in the mood. Maybe I don't know. I like this fucking Squid Game thing. I was like, I mean, now everybody did it, but I was like, man, this plug is insane. Let's sample it. Let's make a pet out of it. And then kind of the creative juice starts to flow. Yeah. But for sure, it's really important to know what is kind of triggering your creative brain. Yeah. And go for it.
Well, so I think we're gone over an hour here, so we should I wrap it up a little bit. But I had a couple of things that I always like to kind of ask at the end. One of which you just kind of touched on, which is like, is there like an artist or a style of music that people would be surprised that it was like such a big influence on you?
I think that's a good question. I mean, I heard a lot of hip hop in my life, but that's not that surprisingly. I think everybody was listening to a lot of hip hop.
I definitely, in our age group, I feel like that, this was like really an era of time, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I also really liked pop music back then. When I was kind of like a kid, like with 11 or 12, I was listening Britney Spears and all this shit. And funnily, we did like a road trip in Morocco and we're listening to a lot of pop music, and I still feel really connected with it. And I was thinking about it, why? And I think because it's really rising emotions. And for me, music is also in techno just about emotions. You have the listener have to feel what you were transposing in the song. So I think, like all these pop guys.
Yeah, that's such a good point. In that, like, there's a certain mood that I have where it's like if it's like sunny for once. Not
now for the next 4 months, but
but and it's like you just want to listen to something that it's like you're kind of in a good mood and you want to like double down on the good mood, and that pop music really can like highlight that emotion.
Exactly.
And so the other thing I wanted to ask, or that I always like to ask about, is like, is there a story behind your name?
My name? Basically I got the name from one of my best friends. We were playing at that time a lot. He also brought me kind of to techno. And at that time I was called Farbton. I don't know, it's like color tone.
Okay, yeah.
It's like, okay, dude. And we were playing together, and he's kind of like the opposite of me completely when he's playing. He's more like focused there and more like shy, and I was next to him like the whole time, like this, almost punching him. And then we were making a little hangout after the party at his place. He was like, man, dude, it's so annoying. Why don't you call yourself A.D.H.S. actually? I was like, hold on a second.
Wait a second.
I hate my name right now, and this is fitting really good. I was really like, from the first moment, I was like, that sounds good. I don't know, I like it. And I was like, okay, let's try it out. And it's kind of really when I play, man, I can't stop moving. Even if I'm in my bedroom, like 7 years ago, I was having the same rave. Now when I play at Sisyphos, it's the same energy and like this.
That's such a good, I love that. That's such a good story. And I can say like, because like sometimes you've posted like some little clips of like edits you're working on in your studio or whatever, and it's funny because I also exactly see the same energy as when I've seen you live, where you're just like, fuck yeah.
It doesn't matter where it is. It's clicking. It's kind of like my alter ego.
And one of the other questions I like to ask is like, do you have a memory of either like a best or a worst show that you did that like really sticks out in your mind as like, oh my god, like my laptop fell and broke, or the sound system blew out, or like, I mean, because I guess we kind of already talked about some of the best ones, but I guess do you have a memory of like a time that it was like, oh man, that was really like shit?
Yeah, for sure they were. I think the brain is a pretty good friend and kind of locks this experience out. But for sure, the most exhausting gig ever was on Zurück zu den Wurzeln. I played there like on Thursday night, and then spontaneously, and then on Sunday night was my Sunday morning was my actual slot, and we went there like on Wednesday or Thursday. So I was so fucking done after 4 days festivals. And then I got there, I couldn't sleep the whole night because of some accidents. And I arrived there, I puked 4 times before the set, and I arrived there and it was like, sorry, I have like a how do you say, like, we have to schedule it a bit later, like 1 hour later. I was sitting there like on a tray just waiting for the gig. In the end, it turned out to be a good gig actually, because the whole crew even came again and were like just like zombies supporting.
Like, we're all going through this together.
I mean, we're dying. One friend of mine was even crying because she was so fucked up.
Oh god.
And then even the DJ came later from the other one. I was really feeling like like shit. Just like shit. So yeah, that was a really good experience.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Okay, so and then the last question that I like to ask is, do you have any, like, for someone who's maybe like just getting into DJing or just getting into doing it, do you have any like advice that you would offer?
Just go for it. Like, if you just go for what you love, it's really that, because then it's not exhausting to do it, you know, then it's just the best thing ever. And I think this really creates something unique. I really like that. That's good. Well, thank you so much, man. This was super fun. Pleasure, brother.
Really fucking interesting. And people can follow you on Instagram at A.D.H.S.
Exactly. Like, a bit weird written, but
the link will be in the description. The link to your SoundCloud in the description below. So check out. I was just listening to the Hemahala set this morning.
Nice.
Really excellent. Yeah. But yeah, thanks, man. This was awesome.
Thank you. Nice.